Some of the things that we're talking about, yes, they're technical, but if we actually do them, they're going to make a real difference in people's lives. Now, I'm in my 8th year in the Senate, certainly far shorter than many of my colleagues here, but I am very frustrated. I am very frustrated by inaction on some of our partners here in Albany. I want to talk about mandate relief. Now, mandate relief, to me, it's like a 4-letter word, or mandate. The term mandate is like a 4-letter word. Everybody talks about it, but in reality, nothing has really been done about it. We have advanced a number of proposals when we were in the majority, and now, standing here today, on mandate relief. And I look at this as sort of like death by 1,000 cuts. Whether you're a small business or a large company, you're the auto repair shop, you're the bakery, you're the florist, everybody has to deal with the state of New York, and doing business is frankly far too complicated, and there are far too many burdens. Everybody I talk to, when you broach this subject with them, they all shake their head, I get it, I get it, I get it, but they're all waiting for something to happen. I sit as the ranking Republican on the Education Committee for the last several years. Well, I shouldn't say last year, but prior to that, when we had public meetings, I would talk about mandate relief, and people would politely nod their head, and nothing happened. Especially in the area of education, the Assembly Democrats have done absolutely nothing. Talk is cheap, action is a lot better than what people say. We have advanced a number of proposals. Number one, permanent ban on unfunded statutory and regulatory mandates. Not just legislative mandates, regulatory ones. If the state of New York thinks it's a good idea, the state education department thinks it's a good idea, let them pay for it. Let them come up with a way to pay for it. There are far too many burdensome regulations in the state of New York that really don't provide any benefit. If it's education, what does it do for a student? If it's health care, what does it do for the patient? These are the types of things that should be vetted as part of our open process. Now, we have a number of other things. State Education Department regulatory reform. How about state ed actually listening to the public before they come up with some ideas and try and implement them? Paperwork reduction. How could the Assembly Democrats not support something like that? It is so basic and so simple that everybody understands it, and yet they don't come on board. Reform procurement practices, regional transportation, regional collective bargaining, regional health insurance trust. A lot of good ideas that should be on the table. Now, speaking of on the table, when we talk about what Senator LaValle spoke of in terms of payment and what we would do, I want to mention two things in particular. I believe, and my colleagues believe, that we can come up with the money to pay for this plan. But it means that we have to radically change the way we're doing business in the state of New York. Number one, we have to have open budget negotiations. We can't have a real debate unless the Senate Democrats and the Assembly Democrats want to engage. We need the conference committees. We need public forums where all of you can query us on what our priorities are. We're telling you what some of ours are. We're waiting for our partners, our supposed partners, to get involved. And I think we've proven our mettle in that regard when we did the deficit reduction plan last fall. We came up with a number of ideas, and many of us supported tough actions that needed to be taken. We're ready to do the same thing, but we have to have that open dialogue. Simple thing. If we had had a spending cap, we would have spent $6.4 billion less last year. So when people ask, how do you pay for it, we are establishing priorities. Our first priority is the taxpayer and property tax relief. If you just take the revenues that Governor Patterson has projected, we would have more than enough money to pay for this program. So a spending cap is absolutely critical to what we're talking about. And we're confident that we can do that with the jobs plan, with the efforts by Senator Hannan in looking at Medicaid, waste, fraud, and abuse, and things of that nature. It's not any one thing in isolation. It's got to be a full court press, a variety of different options. But the way we can really do it is by getting a real discussion and a real negotiation. Until the Democrats get on board, we're not going to go anywhere. We're telling you what we think, where we need to act, and how we want to do it. We're putting our cards on the table, and we expect them to do the same thing.